Welcome back, everybody, to the CHG podcast.
Hey
That is
guys,
David over there. This is
what's
RJ
up?
over here. And this is the CasualHardcoreGamers podcast where we talk about the gaming industry at length, about fun topics. I try to be funny,
Mostly just long-winded,
but just a
but
very long-winded
that adds length.
and very hey,
That's what that means,
it's
right?
over. Yes,
We just talk about it a lot for
yeah.
no
We
reason.
we just kind of at tool exhaustion or nauseum. We just kind of just string one topic
I
out.
know my
It'll
wife, every time we're doing the
so
podcast, it's definitely like,
just
you
on
done
that.
yet?
Just on that, just hey.
How can you talk about the same thing for an hour?
Because first of all, it's not the same thing. There's layers here, okay? um. Anyway, so welcome back, everybody. Glad to see. Last time we had our special guest in a while, so you guys had fun with that. There will be more coming, so just hold your horses. Stop asking me. So,
Especially as I get more busy.
yeah. And so, anyways, guys, so we're gonna start podcast as we do all of them of what we are playing, and I need to go first this time because fucking hell. So
You always go first. You
I do
almost
not
always
know.
go
I
first.
do not. I make sure it's switched, flipped, whatever. I can't even talk. I'm so mad. So
So what is upset of the RJ?
ukulele,
Since ukulele.
ukulele.
Which one? The 3D one or the
First,
side scrolling one?
the 3D one.
Ah,
It's.
I heard it's very mediocre. Like
So
extremely mediocre.
it's just. I beat it. I played it. I beat it. I got the platinum. Fine, whatever. I had bought it. It was on a sale. I bought some a little while ago on PlayStation Store. Some sale before the PlayStation Plus premium thing happened. Bought on sale. Wanted to play it because I thought. I mean, I knew it didn't review well. I mean, it reviewed okay. It was like 6.7s, nothing really crazy. But I didn't know all the discourse that came with it. I didn't know. I didn't know it really had divided people quite
Yeah,
down the
no, I
middle.
remember that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Because I didn't really care at the time of the launch, but I knew it was a 3D platformer. And as you guys know, that's your boy's favorite genre. So I was like, "Fuck yes, let's play a 3D platformer collectathon." That's yes. You
Now,
can't ask for anything better than that.
were you a fan of Banjo Kazooie?
I didn't
I
play
know
it.
it's okay.
Never played.
Yeah, because
I didn't have it.
you didn't have an N64, so I was
I
wondering.
had one for a very short period of time, and I didn't play a lot of games on it. I played like Mario 64 for a little bit, but I was so young, I didn't even understand how to play that right. I
Yeah,
played just as a kid. I mean, some people were with
Mario
the
64 was the first Mario that was like really confusing.
and those
Like,
games, as a kid, gigantic. Those games were gigantic. Like
yeah,
I was like, I
I
can't
was
even
just like,
fathom what to do.
I didn't like for the longest time when I was playing that game at my friend's house. I didn't even know how to go to an actual level. Like you have to jump through the painting. Like
Yeah, because this
I
is
was just running around the hub world. Like, is this fucking it? Like, I was, what the
even go to the castle.
yeah, what the shit is this? Like, I don't.
Yeah,
And then my friend
yeah.
was like, no, you gotta go, you gotta here. And I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really intuitive as a kid. I'm still not really intuitive now, but
No, I'm dumb.
so I'm a dumb. I'm a big old dumb.
I always
So yeah, those
I know
games.
this is getting on a side tangent, but like I always love the idea of like a really in-depth, complicated simulator. Like I have downloaded Inside the Park Baseball, which is like a very
Oh, I
in-depth
think you told me that. I think you
baseball
I think you
simulator.
mentioned that on the simulator on the
Yeah,
podcast here.
but every time I'm so pumped, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get out, charts and shit. I'm gonna do all this shit, and I sit there for like 2 hours, and I get like a week through, like a simulated week through, and I'm like, I'm gonna go play MLB The Show now.
Yeah, it's the hardest shit of your life because it becomes work. It becomes literal work.
And I've also tried to do like there's like I can't remember what it was, but there was this uh space city simulator, or like you had a race and like all this stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I love Civ. I love those things. I heard that this is kind of like Civ, just a little bit more complicated. And it has to be that like you go any more complicated than Civ, and it just is fucking over my head. Because I got in there and I made a race, and then it started talking like, hey, like not only do you have to pick your race, which has negatives, pluses and minuses to certain things, then you have to pick like your historical background, and then you have to pick like what kind of tribe you're gonna be. Like, are you a warrior? Like, I was just like, fuck it. I didn't even get through the character creation on that game before I was like. And see, again, that's why Game Pass is great, because I was like, shit, it was free. Why not? Like,
Well, there's his Game Pass plug.
but
Bust out
anyway,
your bingo cards. Bust out the David bingo card. Anyways, um, so anyway, so I didn't play Banjo-Kazooie, but I figured it's fine because I haven't played it. That's better than having played it and not liked it.
having
But
expectations.
also, I knew Banjo-Kazooie was a 3D platformer collectathon, and I mean, I didn't play a lot of 3D platformers besides Spyro, and I to a lesser extent Sly Cooper or something, but but it's still a platformer, and I love 3D platformers, so I think I'd be fine. And it is not fine. Ukulele is not fine. It's not fine. Every time I'm about to have fun, it does something to take away that fun from me, and it pisses me off. And what I read was people were saying like they said they wanted to bring a true to form 3D platformer. They did that. They did it for better or for worse, because it's literally, it seems to be like, I can't even say like, I don't think that because I didn't like this, I wouldn't like Banjo-Kazooie. I honestly don't think that at all. I think it's just they were trying to take a bunch of old school shit and they just gave it a modern coat of paint. That's it. And that's not how usually that works.
Yeah,
And
I heard when the game came out. Like, I heard that it obviously wasn't as good as Banjo-Kazooie, even if it was released at the same time period as Banjo-Kazooie was released. Of course, graphics wise, whatever. But
Yeah.
what I did hear is like they like what you said, like they wanted to make it no holds bar. Banjo-Kazooie brought just released today, pretty much.
That's all it is. And it's like, there's no innovation in this title at all for any platformers following Banjo-Kazooie. Nothing. There's nothing here. But the things they add is they break up the action way too much. So there's this thing like they add like all these little mini game things and all these other challenges, and some of them are just really annoying. Some of them are way too hard. And some of them are just like, it's just like you're trying to just go, you just want to keep going, but then it just stops you. It makes you go do something really slow, and it's just like, what the fuck? And the one thing that makes you go faster eats up your energy. Why would you do that? Because Yuka, yeah, I think it's Yuka. That's the chameleon, I think. If it's not, whatever, then it's Laylee. But Yuka does not move very fast. His base run speed is not fast.
I mean,
So,
Banjo didn't
but you got
back in the day.
But those levels. Here's another thing: the levels are too big.
I wonder. I would be really interested. You should, because you have an Xbox. You should play.
I will grab the rare replay one day. I will grab the rare replay, which has all that shit on there, and that would have been like the first game I would have played. Was Banjo-Kazooie. So one day I'll get there and I'll find out. But it's just one thing I noticed is that like for how big, because there's only technically only 5 worlds in the game. For how big they are, there is not enough stuff in there at all. They could have easily had doubled the amount of collectibles in each of those levels, and you still would have had some surface area left over. And it's really annoying because like when you find out what you have left to do, which also doesn't even tell you, is like if you're trying to figure out, because like the main thing you're trying to get are pages to fill up this book. Those are your main collectibles. So basically, like crystals from Crash Bandicoot,
or from directly Banjo-Kazooie, the puzzle pieces.
Puzzle pieces. There you go. But it'll tell you how many are in the level, which is 25. But it won't tell you where any of them are. And even there's no list or anything to keep track of it. Like to maybe like, because like in Mario, for instance, Mario 64, there's like 8 stars per level about. And it tells you a name of it, but that's better than nothing to get told like the title of the star, because you can try to infer what that might mean, But this is just nothing, and you have to just go about your wits and figure the shit out. And I mean, maybe that was from Banjo, okay, but still, like, this is supposed to be like, you could have made an innovation and help with that, like. So I have to like, look this shit up on my, figure this shit out, like, but I can't find the rest of
But
them.
then you get
And it's
that
just,
like, oh man, they made this game for kids and shit.
but it would even make it. It would even be for kids. Like that's the thing. Like it still be a fun game for people who just grew up with those type of games. So it's just, again, the levels are so big. Like, so if you found out where you need to get your next page, it is like on the other side of the fucking map. It's just like a chore to get there. I mean, later on you do learn how to fly, which is really nice, but that's not till the end of the game. And so it's like,
Really,
for a
all the
game
way
like
to
this,
the end of the game.
that's where you learn to fly, is the end of the game.
Can you,
I
like,
mean,
guide?
we're talking
glide?
like the last 80% of the game.
Are you able to like glide
That's
or
when,
hover or stuff?
no.
That's
Well, wait,
really
you can
funny.
double jump. You can double jump. Maybe you can't. No, you can glide. You can glide. But we're talking like full blown airborne and
flying.
start flying around.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you can glide.
Okay.
But that's not.
That'd
That
be
just keeps you in
a
the air a
weird
little
waste
bit
of the
longer.
bat. Like,
No, but that doesn't really help you much. But anyways, so it's like backtracking is in the game, which is fine. I'm used to backtracking. I don't care about that. But it's like, because I already knew so many things in each of the levels were going to require so many late game shit. It's like you don't even want to go backtrack until the very end of the game, which is really annoying. Because I would rather have done it as soon as I could, but I have to wait till the very end of the game to get everything else, which is a chore. Also, the hub world, there's like a hub world to get to every one of the levels, but it's really big and convoluted. They could have made it so much simpler. They didn't need to fucking make it some gigantic thing. And again, like I said, the levels are way too big for how little stuff is in there. Which is because, like, I know people be like, oh, it's just fluff, but like, here's the thing: sometimes it's just really gratifying to be constantly getting stuff, which is great for a collectathon. Even if there's a lot of it, if you can,
there's a balance for sure.
if you're constantly just finding stuff to fill up how much you need for the level, you still feel good because you're like, oh, I'm constantly being not rewarded per se, but you're constantly fulfilling the objective. Always, no matter where you go, you're getting a feather. Everywhere you go, you're finding another page to collect or do something for. It just makes things more rewarding, more constantly rewarding, instead of like, okay, I did something, now I got to figure out where to go now to get the next thing. And then it's like there's only 200, I think, feathers or quills, sorry, in each level, but they're so big, you kind of only get like a couple at a time and you don't feel like you're making any progress at any given point. And so it's just really slow progression, which is annoying as shit. And then all these little mini games, stuff like that, break up the action way too much that are unneeded, don't need to be in the game. They could have filled it with other content. And again, like they said, like their main traversal move, which is a roll, eats up your energy, so you can't even do it for long. So it's like, why the fuck would you do that? This is the fastest mode of transportation on the ground, and I can only do it for a limited time. Are you out of your mind?
Is it also an attack? Is that maybe it?
It's a light attack. It doesn't do really any damage. It will bounce people away from you if you run into them, but it's not meant as an
That's
offensive
weird. Like,
move.
I could understand that if it was an attack, they would want to limit it. But then I've also known other games that like have had like a traversal attack or something, that when it's in combat, it takes up energy. But when you're not in combat, it doesn't take up energy.
No, I mean, at least I didn't do it, but
I mean,
it always takes up energy. But it
yeah,
always
but
does.
yeah,
It
I
always
don't
takes
know.
up energy.
I'm just saying
And
a good game would.
yeah, and also the humor is not. It's not good. I'm sorry, it's not. Maybe in 2000, the Banjo Kazooie's humor was good. The way they do it here, it just doesn't land like hard more than only like 10% of the time that I actually chuckle. And it's like too self-referential. It's too much. Like, yeah, it knows it's in the game. They make jokes about a game and all that shit.
They did
And because
that.
like
They did that at that's a real Banjo Kazooie thing. Like
that's fine, but I'm sure with those games it was probably done in a way where I'm sure it was great.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was
I'd
great,
be really. You really should play it. Like
the way it was
while you
delivered in this
still
game
have
was
like
not
this
good.
feeling, you should play Banjo Kazooie.
Maybe
That
I
way
should,
you
but
know, like,
yeah,
if it gives you the same feeling or not. I think you should play it.
we'll have to
soon.
see, because
But
and also like I know like the big thing with
tell
Banjo
RJ
Kazooie,
if you
like
think you think he should play it like right now, because that's
no
what
one talks about Banjo Kazooie. They do like
I think. Yeah.
which I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming, but the voices they used for this is just grating on your ears. It's almost everybody is just grating, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I thought it would be fine if it kind of started like ran, and it done, no more.
Mm.
But it's every time as the conversation is
Yep.
over,
That's
and it's just like,
Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah.
it's just grating at me, and I mean, I've heard the voices in Banjo-Kazooie, and they don't seem to bug me, but
Yeah,
these
they
ones in this
never
game just bug the shit out of me, and yeah, and also you could just it's just there was no innovation at all. Nothing was really pushing any boundaries by any means. Um, yeah, it just every time I thought I was having a little bit of fun, because there was one level I was having a little bit of fun because I was getting a lot of gratification from a lot of the pages I was getting, and they were seeming coming at a good pace. But then some shit would just happen, just hard stop that, and I'm just like, fucking hell, can I just not have fun with this game? Am I not allowed to have fun with this game? And then the final boss battle is like a 4-stage boss battle. There's no save point at all anywhere in the battle, and the last stage is complete bullshit. Don't even remember. I don't want to describe it, but it's just bullshit. And also you have no idea what to do. You have to just figure the shit out on your own, which is really annoying. There's not even any cues to what you might need to do. You have to just guess, hope it works. And which is very frustrating. I don't want to deal with that bullshit. And so yeah, I mean, I get it. It's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, but it just because it's like, okay, as bad as Crash 4, as much as I hate Crash 4, at least I can't say like it didn't push shit, it didn't try new things, it didn't try to innovate from the original trilogy or any other games that came before it. I can't say that because it did do that, absolutely did that. But this game doesn't like it's just doing anything new. It just wants to give you just like, here is Banjo-Kazooie with different characters, and it's just shinier. Here you go. But like it's yeah. And this is not the first time I've seen a game that's just trying to just be an old game for a modern audience, and it's not the first time I've seen they do that and it just falls flat, because that's just not how that works. You need to be pushing something kind of magic. You need to be changing something while still retaining a little bit of that old DNA to make a game work, and this didn't, and I'm really pissed. I'm not even gonna bother with the second one. I wasn't going to anyways because it's 2D and I don't like 2D games, but I heard it was better.
Yeah,
I heard
that too. Yeah.
And so good for you. If you ever go back to 3D, you better fucking fix some shit. So yeah, anyway, that's my threat. That's my threat to Platonic games. Anyways, that was my main thing. I've been playing. I went back to Neo again. Did another 50 floors. I am now at floor 400. I cannot believe I'm 400 floors deep into this bullshit. I'm gonna keep going and see how far I can go.
599 away.
We'll see how if I get to 999. We'll see. I probably won't, but we'll see. So I did that, and then I finished Stray finally on PS5. I did my live stream on that speed run, and then my new game is I'm playing Nier, the original Nier.
Oh,
on the
PS3,
one.
the remastered one, or like, are you going
OG on the PS3, homie, the OG, which is now a cult. Like, dude, that game's expensive now. I bought it from my local game shop for like $50. It is expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting rid of that at all. That's become like a fucking antique collector's item. But I'm playing it. It's so interesting because it came out in 2010, I think, and it has some things in it that I would not have expected from games at the time, as far as like animation and like just little extra things, that you kind of really have to have an eye for to appreciate. For instance, like, so when he pushes objects, he doesn't just push. He'll like push, turn around, pulls with his back, and then flip over again and push again with the front.
And stuff.
Or like when he's dragging something, he'll drag and then like turn around and drag the other way with his triceps. And then it's like, no one does that. Even today, no one really has that full animation for pulling or dragging things like at all.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. There's some other funny thing about it is that the game doesn't let you fall off of an edge, but you can jump off an edge, which is very funny. You can jump off of an edge to the water and die because you can't swim apparently, but you can't. The game won't let you just fall off the edge, which I found that quite funny. So much backtracking though. Oh my gosh, there was so much backtracking between the towns, and there's no fast travel.
Do you know what happens at the end of that game?
If you do all 4 of the endings, I know the last.
I was gonna wonder if you knew that there was like 4 endings.
Well, as a trophy hunter, you have to look up the trophy guide
ahead of time. I forgot. you're going to be getting all the trophies.
So yeah, I already heard there was multiple endings in this game regardless, but I did forget about that last one and what it does to you at the end. Did forget about that, but we'll be fine. But yeah, it just I have to replay it because like there's some things that it just kind of just makes me go, huh, I wouldn't have like cool. Like it's like it's very rare when a game. Okay, for instance, like there's a chick in the game that you meet on early on. She's wearing a straight up just lingerie baby doll, just and like
Japan.
and panties that are like and
Japan
panties
in
that are kind of like
the
open,
early
that are kind of like open
2000s.
too, that are kind of open too, like some lacy ass. She's just basically in underwear and some heels. And when you first meet her, the dude actually is like, "That's a interesting outfit," and I'm like, "Huh." He acknowledged it in a not weird pervy way, which is really rare, especially for that time frame.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he acknowledged it was a bit surprising to me because too often they kind of just act like they're not wearing something ridiculous and talk to them like normal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's as far as it went because she didn't say anything back to it. But like I was like, oh, he acknowledged it, which is good. And also with the dialogue in general, yes, this is a Japanese game. There is no option for sub, which sucks. It's all English, but it's not cringy ass English. It's not. I'm not really getting any cringe at all. Which usually, as you know, it's immediate.
Yeah,
So
it's getting better. But I
It's-
watched a recent anime that was dubbed. I'm watching because my niece, who now lives in the area, we're getting her into anime, but she'll only watch dubbed. And we're watching a more recent anime. And I'm just like, oh god, it's so bad.
Yeah, it's hurt. It's killing you in the inside.
It does. It does. Yeah.
But yeah, it's everyone knows, anime people know it's immediate too. Like as soon as a first person talks, you're just like, oh gosh, this
especially
is so
if
bad.
you've heard it subbed before. You're like,
oh, it's probably even worse.
Yeah.
So, but this game, it's really not bad at all because I was the options. I was like, okay, let's get the subs in. Let's get those subs in immediately. I don't got time for this bullshit. But there's no options. I was like, oh no, am I going to be able to handle this? And then at least the main character, he's fine. He's fine. No, I have no issues with him at all. His daughter doesn't sound like that American dub girl voice that we all know. We all know what that sounds like. She doesn't sound like that at all. She actually does sound like a normal fucking young daughter, young girl. The other characters that are in the game that have voices aren't. It's fine. They talk fine. And some of the dialogue you get from pedestrians, they kind of just say like interesting stuff. Like one person was like saying like there's a postman in a town, and I guess he's just the hot stuff of the town. And so some chick was like saying something about like, oh yeah, that sexy postman. I was like, I've never heard a game say sexy like that in my life. But I was like, but it's kind of real. It brings a realism to it, kind of. It's like because people think people are sexy, like it's normal. So I was like, huh, interesting to hear them from an NPC, like. So weird, but like, so like there's these little things in this game that kind of I'm just like, no wonder this game has a fucking cult following. There's all these little things that like you just don't see then or now, and not just an RPG, but just really any game, especially now, especially with the fact that it's a Japanese game that didn't have dubs for a Western audience. I'm just really surprised. I mean, so some things I'm just like, it's definitely of its time era. Like the movement is very much of 2010. Very much, it's very janky. It's either you're going nowhere or you're sprinting. So it's like definitely of its era. It's not. It's like RPG, but not exactly. Like it's only one character. There's no creation stuff. It's not fully customized.
It's a JRPG. I mean, JRPG.
So it's not crazy. Combat's fine. It's a little simple, but it's fine so far. But the backtracking is just brutal with no fast travel map at all. I'm just dying left and I'm just dying. Not like literally dying. I mean, in the inside dying because just the back travel is real. But yeah. So David says he's been playing games. What has he been playing?
I haven't. I've had a little like week and a half break in between classes. Is that a Sobe? No, it's a vitamin water.
That's a vitamin water, dog.
Sorry, I was like, "Are you fucking doing that to me, you bitch?" But no.
Are you restricted from Sobe?
No, I can't. They're not out here.
Oh, that sucks.
There's no Sobeys out here.
I guess you're gonna have to come back anymore. I guess you're gonna have to come back to Washington.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, guys. That was personal. Anyway, so no, I've been playing. So and then I've had a rough couple weeks. So my wife has been totally letting me get away with shit like playing video games all day. So I finally played more than 2 hours of Outer World, and I actually beat it. I played an entire playthrough of Outer Worlds, and I beat it.
What
And
applause
the
all around.
yeah, thank you, because it's been out for fucking ever. I got it day one, and I just never fucking played it.
I'm just applauding you for beating a game, any game. So that's what the applause is for.
That's it. Which I've been doing more lately. I have been doing it more lately. I was even trying to pull an RJ, and I was trying to 100% complete Borderlands 3. And I got, I'm at like 98 point something percent.
It's not hard. Hard is pretty easy.
But not, yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. But yeah, I've given up on that. I'm not going to do that. But no, so I played Outer Worlds, and it's great. It is peak. God damn it. Well, the guys that made it, not Bethesda.
Oh, you always forget their name. Obsidian. You always forget their name.
I always forget their name. Yes, but yeah, it's peak Obsidian. It is. The dialogue's great. The humor's great. The story is really good. It's less like it's a different setting, obviously, because it's like space and futuristic. But the actual, like, even though it's only like, it's much smaller than New Vegas.
That was the thing. It was a bit smaller of a game.
It's a bit smaller. It's probably, I mean, I didn't look at my stats, but it probably took me like 20-ish plus 20, hours. 20, 30 hours. And I did every side mission that I came across. I think there was one side mission that I didn't complete because it was like a really small one, and the backtracking I would have had to done I was like, whatever.
See, the backtracking, man, is real.
Yeah. So no, it was really good. Like it made me excited for one. Their Skyrim one, Elsewhere. That's not the name, but it's their medieval one they're doing.
Oh gosh, I think it might have been shown at the Xbox showcase. I think. Yeah.
But anyway, that one I'm really excited for. That one. I'm also it gets me excited again for. Here's another David.
Gosh damn it! How does this happen?
a potential remake of New Vegas, but also they're going. If they don't do a fucking New Vegas 2, I'm gonna lose my shit. Okay, they can't not do it. You don't fucking buy Obsidian and Bethesda and not do Fallout New Vegas 2. It is the only reason, as far as I'm concerned, that they made that purchase. The only one. So they have to do it. But anyway, I digress. No, it was really cool because, like, I found something that I don't even remember in Fallout games. And it made me mad at first. But then I was like, wait, no, that's fucking kind of cool. And I get why people would be mad about it, because we're this, like, we're kind of used to this, like, I want to be able to, like, do this multiple path game, right? Like, we have this multiple path. We have all these multiple path games where you can do, X, Y, Z. But we want to be able to know what we're picking, right? Like, we want to be able to say that I knew that I was going on this path the entire time. But what this game did was I was doing a mission, and I went to this guy, and he was this religious figure, and the mission he wanted to send you on was one to secure this printing press, so to get out his religious pamphlets to the people, right? And increase his flock. His second in command was like, you need to send my player, on a mission to secure the food and resources that we need, that this other team was on that we haven't heard from. And I was like, I want to, because on the mission that I was on said that I needed to have that group end their transmissions because it was like clogging up the airwaves. So I was thinking, okay, I'll do the main dude's mission so I can get in favor with him so he shuts down the airwaves, because that was the mission I was on. So I go do that, whatever, and I progress this kind of faction mission till the end. And at the end, you can, so there's two warring factions, and you can get them to actually, like, you get the other one, the non-religious one, to say, hey, we'll work with that religious faction, but the leader dude, he can't be in charge. It has to be the second in command. So I went back being like, okay, I just need to talk and maybe do like a charisma check, or maybe run a mission for her or something to get her to take over. But that's not the case. I had to pick her mission way back when instead of doing his. So because she was like, you're just like him. I can't trust you. So I'm not going to listen to the deal you made with this other faction because I can't trust you. And I was like, at first I was like, fuck, like I wanted, like, because I want the best. I was playing the good character, so I wanted the best scenario, which is basically I had to slaughter that entire, like, because the alternative to not getting them to join together is wiping one out. So I had to wipe out an entire settlement of people to complete the mission, which, of course, being the good character, I did not want to do, but it forced my hand because I looked back at my nearest save was probably like 5 hours of gameplay. And I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking doing that. So I just slaughtered everyone. But it was really cool. I was like, that's really cool that a decision that I made 5 hours ago in a completely different mission affected that mission there to such a degree that I couldn't change it. And that storytelling is fucking amazing. Like that's why I love Obsidian. Yeah, I love that storytelling.
It helps adding another layer of liveliness to a world with
it makes me like now and see here's now my moral dilemma. My next gameplay, when I detox from the game and I can go back and play it again, is I'm going to play a dumb character, a no intelligence character.
He loves doing the zero intelligence runs.
A zero intelligence character, melee focus, because the intelligence helps with guns, so I'm gonna have to do a melee. But an evil character, like a bad playthrough character. So I'm going to get that mission again, but now the evil thing to do is to kill both of them. So like, I'm not even going to get to do it on that one, but whatever. It's fine. It really only affects the end mission. Like if you save both of them, both factions came and helped you on the end mission, which I didn't need because my character was so overpowered by the end that I just fucking blew through everything. But no, it's amazing. It's so good. If you haven't played it and you like Fallout or Elder Scrolls, you gotta play Outer Worlds. It is peak, but like good Bethesda Obsidian. Like before Fallout 4, like your character doesn't talk, it's just dialogue. There's a bunch of different, like literally in one conversation you could have like 8 different results depending on, or I guess maybe not results, but 8 different paths depending on your different checks for like charisma, intimidation, if you mechanic, like if you have points in engineer, you might be able to talk to a guy who's an engineer and get him to agree to something. It's so cool. The only thing that I don't like is there was no sexy time options. You can't get with any of your crewmates. Pretty bummed. You can one crewmate in particular. You can get her hooked up with another girl, and I was all about that. I got her hooked up. So good.
Boo.
So
0 out of 10. Game sucks. Boo.
But no, it was a bummer because I was like, oh.
I will say one thing. I will rehash that David said, and I already knew, is that for a lot of us, we're getting older. We got more responsibilities. We don't have the time we have. This is a shorter RPG, which for a lot of people is a nice thing because not everybody can do these constant 60, 70, 80-hour RPGs. So
Or
keep that in mind.
oh, sorry, my bad.
I was
What
just
I
saying,
was
keep that
going to
in mind.
say is in a longer RPG, what they need is a fucking recap. Like they need to implement it, because I've seen games that have had it, and I can't think it off the top of my head. But I know there was a game that when you went back in, I think it was Red Dead. It might have been Red Dead. Maybe it wasn't.
I find it
There was
funny
a
that
game.
games that don't need it have it. I find that hilarious.
There was a game that when you went into it, when you click continue, it gave you kind of like a recap of like last time on whatever, and it gave you kind of like it would tell you in word format. It would be like, this is what your character was doing, and then it gave you like little snippets of relevant video that you had, that stuff. And like they need that for like Elder Scrolls. Like when you load up, you need to be like, this is the last like 3 missions that you completed or something like that.
Pokemon did that. And
Yeah, Pokemon did, yeah.
Fire Red, Leaf Green, they actually did that.
And they
I
haven't
never
done it
needed
since.
it. Never needed it,
No.
but they did it. They did it. It was like you did this, you caught a Pokemon on this route, and then you did that, and then you beat these guys. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't really need
They
that.
need that
Thank
for
you.
fucking everything.
But yeah,
So
no,
I can,
big RPG.
because like I'll put down a game, an RPG for like even just a week, and I go back to it, and I'm like, what the was I doing?
Dave is notoriously bad for not remembering where he was, which is why he restarts his game, because he cannot remember for the life of him what he did, where he's at, what he's supposed to do, and he's just like, fuck it, give up, restart. Anyway, so I'm gonna ask David a question here. We're gonna move on to our little question. So every game's been getting delayed. Every game under the fucking sun has been getting delayed.
Yeah.
Everything. Hogwarts Legacy recently got delayed to next year. God of War was delayed. It's coming out in November or October. Hopefully. Might get delayed again. Who knows? I think Saints Row was delayed to next year. Just every game has been getting delayed. Like IGN keeps like a running tally of every game that's been delayed this year, and they do that every year because it's hilarious because it just grows. Obviously, famously, Starfield got pushed to next year. My question to you, which I was pondering as I was seeing all the games that are getting delayed, do you think that it is actually a good thing and a bit of a counter to hype culture, which we all know is becoming more of an issue in this industry because it leads to just usually either devs being overworked or kind of falling under pressure of this hype that they may not have even been. I mean, because dev teams they're not in charge usually of making trailers, all that stuff. They're usually only in charge of making the game. It's usually the marketing or the executive side that builds up that hype for them. And so, but the devs usually come under the brunt of that, or the people just their expectations are so high that they become now jaded almost, and they just the game doesn't even do well. It's like whatever, or they doesn't do as well as they thought because they're expecting the moon because they just overblew what they saw or what they thought was going to happen with the game. So do you think when a game is delayed, it tempers that, and it actually can hopefully lower down that hype and make it to where the game can actually come out to a better reception?
I mean, it depends on the game, and it's a delicate balance. Like this would not be as if I was in the industry, and
But
you know
we are in the industry.
whatever. Um, this would not be my solution to the problem. My solution to the problem would be lessening the initial hype, or figuring out a better window to release things, right?
True.
Like that would be because like then what you get in trouble of is the delicate balance between losing the hype and like delaying it enough to where you can get the stuff done that you need to, so you don't have a cyberpunk on your hands that fails so hard that it affects the game sales so poorly, where you're issuing refunds and shit,
Yeah.
like and a game that I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know there's games that will come out and people will be like, oh fuck, I totally forgot that game was coming out. Like So like there is a delicate balance there, and I don't think that that is optimal. I think that figuring out a better way to forecast when your game is going to be available, and I think maybe that is, and of course we're not in these game, game publishers and stuff like that, and developers, but I think it is what I would suggest. What I would think is that it is needs a better relationship between the publishers and developers, or the marketing team and developers, and really get an honest depiction of, hey, developers, when is this game going to be ready, like a realistic launch date, and not the publishers telling the developers, hey, we need it to be ready by this date. Because I think that's where you get into trouble, because the developers are just going to be like, hey, you're paying for it, so yeah, sure, we're going to be ready by that date. Give us the money. And then when they get to that date, they're like, yeah, it's not fucking ready. And I think they always knew it wasn't going to be ready.
If anyone knows, it is the devs. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of these games that are getting delayed, it was because of like, oh, an unforeseen thing, or whatever. I think it was always going to get delayed.
Yeah, some
if
of
they
those,
wanted X quality.
some of those,
So,
you like for Hogwarts Legacy, I wasn't surprised.
yeah,
I expected it to be delayed. The new Gollum game from Lord of the Rings, that got delayed, but like I knew that was getting delayed because that game didn't even look good when they showed it off.
yeah,
And like Prince of Persia getting pushed back to who knows when the fuck when, you know. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
So like, I think the answer is to get a better system, be more involved. Something needs to change to where because like ideally you want that hype, but I think the industry is going to learn soon, and should have learned already, that it doesn't matter how much hype you build for that game initially if that hype dies before you launch it, or if the game's shit when you launch it and it doesn't match the hype. Now, if you can match it better to where that hype peaks as you release the game and the quality is there, and I think all you have to do is just delay your announcement. Delay your announcement and have a better timeline. So that would be my thing. I think it is a reaction. I think it is an answer to, like, they don't want another Cyberpunk. They don't want another No Man's Sky. So that's why we're delaying games, because I think they get more social media backlash, and I think they're realizing this now, where they get more social media backlash for a shit game that was launched than a delayed game. They're still going to get backlash either way for it, because us gamers are incredibly impatient, and we can't, we don't like to be told that we're going to get our plaything and then not get it. But yeah, my thing is they need to overhaul the whole process.
that's true. I wasn't. Yeah, I was just asking that not in the sense of a answer. I was thinking like just because it happens, do you think it does help curb the hype, and help that hype culture? But you answered that. But I will say, you talk about forecasts and release announcement. I mean, the thing is, like, there should be we should start. There really should be like a Twitter hashtag campaign that's like, don't don't delay the game, delay the announcement. Like you said, like delay the
Yeah,
announcement,
yeah,
not the game, because and we've seen a couple times where it works when you don't release it until like the time window between the release date, or sorry, announcement and the release date is only like 4 months, right? Which is, I imagine, is about the time for the polishing. That's the polishing area. That's like, just the last bit of fixes, little bugs, whatever, which is fine. Because games don't usually go gold until about a month before it's out, as I've been noticing. So yeah, because we've seen it a few times. Even though a lot of people don't like Fallout 4. There was only like a 4 month span of time between the announcement and the date, and yeah, it's not everyone's favorite Fallout game, but it came out and it was fine.
yeah. What I
Um,
will say is that relatively for a Bethesda game, at least of what I played, it wasn't as buggy as ones in the past have been.
and
So
you
that,
have that too. It wasn't even as buggy too, so that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's not everyone's favorite Fallout for other reasons, but it came out. We were. I remember that year we were watching that E3 together.
yeah, we were like, what the fuck?
eating some pizza dip too. I think I made some pizza dip. Anyways, yeah, they were like, comes out October. I'm like, okay, cool. This year, what? So we're like, yo, I was like, that's like 3 months away, and like honestly, that actually builds more hype right off the bat, which is great. I think Pokemon's done it a few times. I think
Yeah,
they did it
Pokemon's
with I
done it,
think
yeah.
Diamond with the Brilliant Diamond or maybe Arceus or something, where like the release date just wasn't really that far away. Um, I think Duty because some doesn't usually have a huge window of time either.
Well,
I
we
mean, yeah, it's
always
yearly.
know.
Yeah, it's yearly, but still, they could release it way sooner than they should, but they don't. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's clearly no connection between the publisher and the developer, which is not really probably doesn't shock a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not new.
But it's like but if you want to, because like they worry about capturing a time frame rather than capturing the best quality of the game because they're
Yeah,
more worried about getting into the time to that that holiday slot or something rather than just like, well, let's wait till the game's out. And it's which
yeah,
sucks because we've seen now Christmas time isn't really the most lucrative time anymore, or doesn't have to be for a
yeah,
certain game to come out. Elder Ring just now sold, I think it was 12 or 16 million copies now, and it came out in February.
yeah,
Late winter, almost
yeah.
spring.
Yeah. After,
Whereas-
and that's like
yeah,
after the Christmas season. So that's
and
not
then
even like
after that,
before Christmas season. That's like after the Christmas season
that's
where everybody
after.
already spent their money.
Yeah, and Resident Evil 2 remake came out, I think, in February or March time-ish.
February, I believe.
Sold
Yeah, sounds
extremely
about right.
well. And so like it's been proof that you don't have to have your game come out in the holiday time to get a great, get a lot of sales out of the title. It's been proven. And so but like they just want to get that, just gotta get that holiday time frame. You don't have to, man. You don't have to anymore. It's not the case. It's really not the case. I feel the only reason why Call of Duty does it partly in Battlefield because also it's near Veterans Day and the military shooters, so they line that up and shit. But like nowadays, if you don't have to do that, and also it's a little bit of a quieter season. But nowadays we're starting to see like January to March is like a big release window now. Nowadays it's getting to like a pretty big. You get some heavy hitters in that time frame,
Well, I think
and we've
too,
even seen it.
what we've seen, the reason we've seen that is to avoid Call of Duty and Madden
I'm sure,
and stuff
yes, it
like
is to
that.
not get lost in the mix. Yes, I'm sure. But regardless, it's proof that you can sell a game really at any time and do well. I mean, we even had we don't have that many um, examples of like late spring to summer, but Infamous came out in beginning of June, way back in 2009, and it sold pretty well. And Prototype sold a little, and Last of Us came out in June initially. I think both part 1 and 2 came out in June of the respective years, if not late May. And those fucking obviously everyone knows the story with those games. Killed it. Ghost of Tsushima, I think, came out in May, or April of its year. So the point we're trying to make though is that you know it is better to look at projections, your development schedule projections, rather than just looking at a time frame window because you can sell a game at any time of the year, and if you do your marketing well enough, it should sell just fine, regardless of
Yeah.
the time frame. So, anyways, that was that. And the last thing I wanted to bring up was Microsoft and Activision strike back. They strike back on Sony. The Sony allegations, yeah, right in the face, right in the kisser, against Sony's allegations of this acquisition that is still yet to be done, or at least as far as this recording is. That's gonna suck if like tomorrow it's like deal's done. It's like shit. But as far as the recording, it hasn't been final yet. Sony recently went out a couple weeks ago and said like they felt it was anti-consumer, at least anti-competition, that having Call of Duty under one publisher brand would just create too much. They have too much pull. It'll just start bringing in, they'll lose a lot of companies, they'll lose a lot of business, and they'll make it to where it's an unattainable lead in certain spaces, gaming spaces, and such.
Yeah.
Both of those companies
Which
have
we
now,
kind of already talked about last
which
time.
we talked about that, so we're not going to get too deep in that. But Microsoft and Activision have both responded, of course, denying it, saying that it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But they gave different,
Oh,
they
yeah,
gave,
it was fun.
but they
As
gave
they
different
count their
answers.
bills.
They gave different answers though to it. Like they went at two different points, which I thought was kind of nice. So they're not just rehashing; they're going over two different reasons why they felt it wasn't right. So Activision, I think you knew more about what Activision said, but Activision felt that even though it's on Microsoft, but like it's not going to be anti-competitive somehow. And also, like, we don't have the pull that you think we do. Um, man, it was just. But I have what Microsoft said. Um, I have the article in front of me what Microsoft said, and they actually, man, they broke this shit down, bro. They got bullet points, they got bar graphs and shit. But they said that they list 5 reasons why they claim, Sony's claim that adding any Activision Blizzard game, not just Call of Duty, but just all the games, whatever, to Game Pass would lead to an unattainable lead in subscription services. And the first one was that it's not part of Microsoft's strategy to remove content from players because they reaffirm that COD will be on PlayStation as a paid game. Second thing, data shows that players see subscription services as only one way to pay for games. So not the way, just another way, I guess. Sony's claim ignores the dynamic nature of subscription services and the fact that Sony has its own too. The fourth thing, I guess, was redacted. And the fifth point was there are numerous other game distribution channels, subscription services, many of which include content that isn't available on Xbox. So he's talking about Nintendo and I guess to a lesser extent Steam, but a lot of stuff. But those examples aren't the best because Nintendo, first of all, Nintendo doesn't give a fuck about what the hell Sony and Microsoft do. They never have and they never will. So I don't know how they're able to. I don't know how they do it, but they do it, and they don't give, like, while they're just fighting Sony and Microsoft. Nintendo's always been in that corner, just doing its own thing. Meanwhile, becoming bigger than both of them combined. You know what I mean? Like, it's just. I mean, I know they're not, but you know what I mean. Like, they're just always
brand
like
recognition though.
they're
Close.
just quiet in the corner. Just chilling, minding its own business. Meanwhile, it's like actually the evil doctor all along, toiling everything, you know. And in Steam, I mean, it's PC. Like, PC is kind of like the place where both of them have put stuff on that platform, right? But instead of going into each other's platforms, you know, it seems kind of like Steam has like no loyalty to anybody, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't know if that's really the best, and also with Epic too, but like PC stuff doesn't really have the loyalty stuff that consoles do. So I don't know about that, but
See,
they said other things. Trying to think here.
So
Oh,
while you're trying to find,
sorry.
oh no,
Well, no, the other thing was that Sony said that they felt that Call of Duty was a genre or a category of games in itself. That it was so
which I
big
would agree with.
that it is its own. Like, it's not just an FPS genre. No, Call of Duty is a genre.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Call of Duty is Call of Duty. That's what. So they claim that that's the case, and Xbox denied it. That it is not a gaming category per se. And then Sony's own PlayStation, incidentally, has an established base of loyal brand players, and such a finding, however, does not lead to the conclusion that the PlayStation or any branded product with loyal consumers is a separate market from all other consoles. And then extrapolating from such a finding to the extreme conclusion that Call of Duty is a category of games per se is simply unjustifiable under any quantitative or qualitative analysis. And this is where what I said I think would come into play. Because for those who don't remember, I suggested that if Sony really wanted to make a point on this, they would have to actually get some data together. How they would do that, I'm not exactly sure, but it's just like, creating some kind of models that would create these I guess simulations of sorts or whatever of like what sales would look like in a holiday. Let's go for holiday 2022 or 2023 or whatever, where Call of Duty isn't available on Sony and where it is, and compare what those projections might look like. And I mean, because unless they actually did it, there's no other way to find out for sure. But like they have to create some kind of a realistic model that would show some sales projections or some kind of sales information of the differences between whether Call of Duty was on Xbox's platform exclusively or if it was still as it is now, and it showed that difference, and that can show whether or not how much of a pull Call of Duty actually has on consumers. For a big time period, sales period, whatever. They can look at console sales over a time period, compare that, and then see, maybe use some of that to prove their point. But either way, the point is they don't have any data. So I will have to say yes until Sony can actually show something, whether it's a model, some kind of mock simulation, something. Just using an Instagram account just isn't enough. from what they use. But what do you have to say?
So like my thing that that I found interesting is, besides them talking about the only thing that Microsoft addressed that was against the exclusivity of Call of Duty was when they addressed that it is not within itself its own genre, right? That's the only time to me they were really like saying about excluding it. To me, they were more talking just about the acquisition itself, right? That they were saying that, hey, look, yeah, it'll be on our Game Pass, but people like to buy physical games, or people will buy digital. They won't, so it won't affect it enough just from people saying, well, now it's on Game Pass, I'll just get an Xbox, which is what they were talking about right there. They were not talking they weren't talking about it being exclusive. That wasn't the argument they were making. They were just making the argument of the purchase, right? So, and I think that Sony's focus is not on the purchase, but on the potential exclusivity.
They're thinking on the afterwards. They're thinking on the afterwards,
Yeah,
which is the smart thing to do.
Exactly. I think that's what they're scared of. Yeah, if there was some 100% guarantee that Microsoft wasn't going to make it exclusive, or like my idea, use that as leverage for other business deals, then Sony wouldn't be, I mean, they'd still be upset about it, but they wouldn't be as upset. But I think that that's what Sony's worried about. And Microsoft and their points there, they're not even touching that. Now, was that a play by them because they are going to do something like I suggested, or other forms of exclusivity? Maybe, or maybe they're just only addressing questions that were proposed because that's all they have to. But I found it was interesting that they really were only addressing the purchase and why the purchase is okay, not the potential exclusivity. Talking about, about how not everyone's gonna switch because of Game Pass. They like it other ways. There's a diverse whatever. So that's what I found interesting.
I will say, because David, he's not going to go over it again, but he had a crazy extrapolated plan.
It's not that crazy.
Of it was pretty crazy.
It's not that crazy.
Because it's crazy, not crazy to him, because he just for some reason thinks it's so simple, but it would be very convoluted to like have it on Game Pass, but then have it strike a deal with Sony with their Game Pass, but like they already have their thing, but then it's like, what do you do with that? It's just all these fucking layers on layers.
Not Microsoft's problem.
What I'm thinking is that part of me thinks, I was just thinking about this now, maybe they might not do that because I think it lines up with like Activision said, like they would have something to lose if they made it an exclusive with Xbox. If Call of Duty became an exclusive with Xbox, Activision has something to lose from now no longer having that Sony fan base, which they've had since ever, right? And to another extent, that's the only reason why I think that's probably the only reason why Microsoft might not do your Game Pass plan, because the overall health of the industry might be affected because of something like this, right? And Microsoft does have something to lose possibly from that happening. Maybe not now, but time from now, it would show itself. Like it'd be a weird ass landscape if it was Microsoft, Nintendo, and then PC stuff. That would be the weirdest fucking landscape.
If PlayStation ever went Sega and was just
a developer. That, just that would just be so weird.
It would be.
And would that be good?
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you take it that and you're playing 4D chess in the future, then yeah, I would agree with you. I think what Activision was more talking about, that I think I can combat more easily, is they're talking about that the loss in the Sony player base would be too significant. And I didn't say this, but I think that even if I infer, even if X percentage of those game gamers switch to Xbox, that still wouldn't make up the difference, right?
Yeah.
But that's only if you think about that game sale only. But what you also get is that X percentage of player base that switches. One has to buy a console, which we know doesn't make almost any money. So that's negligible. But also, every other purchase they make will also be on Xbox. So there's a lot of crossover between Call of Duty Bros and Madden. So now all of the Madden purchases from that X amount of player base that had the Switch now is made on Xbox. And again, I don't think it's insignificant that we mentioned that although what Microsoft said is true, that not everyone feels that a subscription service is the way to buy games, you're still going to get I would say, a not insignificant portion of that player base that switched, and other people who were on Xbox to begin with, and now it's on Game Pass that signed up for Game Pass. So although yes, if we just look at just the loss in numbers, if we look at other numbers gained because of at the very least, it's on Game Pass, I think that it's, sorry, my dogs just got released in. I think that that's enough to make it up. Maybe not all of it, but enough to make it up. And then, of course, you throw in my crazy idea. It's even better. So.
Well, he's talking about lifetime sales, by the way. That's what he's referring to, is like the lifetime sales of a customer. Because he's including the console purchase, any DLC purchases on that one account. And so he's assuming, he's making the inference that out of whatever percentage of players that switch over, the lifetime sales or the projected lifetime sales of like your average customer over like maybe a 1 or 5 year time span would be enough to make up the 1 or 5 year loss that that they would have gotten if nothing had changed. And so, again, we're going back to what I said about models. You got to figure out some models here, to make up, to really back up. Nobody has numbers on any side here. No, with any claim. Microsoft doesn't have any numbers.
Microsoft's not going to make those. Like I wouldn't.
They don't have to. Numbers. But I'm just saying though. No one. Everyone's just talking on both sides. Everyone's just fucking talking. No one has any at least public numbers to show to back up any claims here. But that is really what it comes down to: is getting some kind of model set up to really prove a point. Otherwise, you're just kind of just spitting shit. But that's what he's referring to. And interesting to see, because like also you have to look at different markets too, because like in the US, you probably would get the most amount of switches, because you said, the crossover, as David and I know, crossover between Call of Duty guys and Madden guys is very high. To a lesser extent FIFA, but mostly Madden and Call of Duty. And that's great for the US. But in Europe, even with Call of Duty switching over, you have a harder time switching, even getting them to switch over, because Sony has such a bigger stake. Sony has a much bigger stake on all over Europe, and not just Europe, the Middle East and Japan, of course, who probably don't even give a shit about football. So like, that's not going to matter. So
they got a league there now.
And by football, I meant American football. XFL. So, you got it just, and it's not like, it's not that Xbox isn't in other countries, because I've heard about it, but it's just the presence.
It's
worldwide. It's insane. So. Yeah, the numbers might be good here, but would it be good overall worldwide? And that's, again, back to models. Back to looking.
It'll be interesting. We'll have to see. I'm excited to see what happens.
Have to see what happens.
It'll be fun,
because I do appreciate that Sony's thinking forward. They were thinking about because that's the smart thing to do. You, as a business, you never want to be thinking about short. You have to figure about the now, but your game plan should be thinking about what do you do later. What do you do afterward? Because that's sustainability. And so that's where they're after, which is what most people were worried about initially. That's what I was worried about. Not necessarily about Call of Duty being lost. I was thinking about like just what happens to the perception of Sony. Do people is everyone just going to jump ship, and then Sony has no one to play their console except for me and 3 other people? It's like, so that's what we were all worried about, which is the thing to see. But like David said, we'll have to just wait and fucking see what happens. But it was just interesting to hear them finally respond. And yeah, well, I mean, again, as of this recording, it still has not been approved by all the different governing bodies, not just in the U.S., but I guess around the world. A lot of places have to approve of this. A lot of governing bodies have to approve of this. Um, and so, and no, I haven't read anything that anyone in any country has approved of it yet. So, but it makes sense. It's a giant ass acquisition that you, I can imagine the double time that people are having to go, so many documents they have to look over. So, because they're the ones looking over these models I'm talking about, probably. They're the ones that are probably doing all of these forecasts and all of these other things to figure out, would this actually be anti-consumer or anti-competition, for the entire industry as a whole. Because another thing is this industry, as big as it is, if shit goes down in one industry, it can have negative ripple effects on across just a general country's industry. So it can have bigger effects than we think it does.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for joining us again for another podcast. I don't know what we'll do next week, but yeah. And there's David's double waving hands that he's gonna do for about 30 seconds or so. But yeah, guys, if you like this, if you had fun, please throw a like up on the video. If you learned something, comment down below. If you want to say something, say hi to us. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these or more of our other videos. We post up new videos about 2 or 3 times a week, and I try to live stream at least once a week. And hit the bell if you want to see that shit first, or if you want to see David dancing first, you'll be the first one to see it, and him apparently jacking off the air.
No, I was
So
ringing
with
the
that, guys,
bell. I was ringing the bell.
we will
Bye,
see you guys
guys.
on the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.